In 2023, for example, Francis blasted what he saw as the backwardness of some conservatives in the States, with him saying that they had to replace faith with ideology and that a correct understanding of Catholic doctrine allows for change over time. And then, even as he was criticizing Trump, some Catholic leadership in the United States has seemingly sided with MAGA. And so, for example, in 2021, we saw things like some bishops issuing guidance that would deny the sacrament of communion to Catholic politicians who publicly support and advance abortion rights, such as Joe Biden. And although they mostly backed off after the Vatican warned against using the Eucharist as a political weapon, with Francis preaching that communion is not the reward of saints, but the bread of sinners, some still defied him. Right? I mean, you had the Archbishop of San Francisco saying specifically that Nancy Pelosi would not be permitted to receive communion in his archdiocese unless she was willing to publicly repudiate her stance on abortion. And now, as we're in Trump 2.0 land, I mean, we've seen bishops applauding the administration's initiative supporting school choice, rolling back federal support for gender transitions, and requiring foreign agencies receiving U.S. aid to certify that they don't provide or promote abortion. And so that's why, with all this, you have some saying that the Trump administration is not above trying to steer the election for the next pope in its favor. This, for example, saying one observer of Vatican politics telling Politico they've already influenced European politics. They'd have no problem influencing the conclave, and adding they might be looking for someone less confrontational. Now, of course, that said, it's not clear exactly how the administration would manage that, but it would be a huge mistake to take the process of selecting a new pope as not political. Right? As you may or may not know, the way that it works is that within the next 15 to 20 days or so, the more than 250 members of what is known as the College of Cardinals, they're going to gather in Rome for what's known as a conclave. Though notably, only those under 80 years of age are actually allowed to vote. Right? And so they enter the Sistine Chapel, they swear an oath of secrecy, and then they vote by secret ballot. And in fact, a 2/3 majority is needed to elect a new pope, and they just vote again and again until this 2/3 majority emerges. So this is maybe you've seen on some screen. After every vote, smoke is released through a chimney that can be seen from St. Peter's Square. When a vote ends without a 2/3 majority, the smoke is black, and when a decision is reached, the smoke is white. But also, in reality, there is so much more to it. Right? For one, Francis did all that he could to influence the eventual outcome before he died, seemingly trying to pack the College of Cardinals with like-minded candidates. Take Mykola Buchok, for example, an Australian-based Ukrainian bishop who advocated for legislation to help migrants and refugees settle in foreign countries. With him last year at 44 years old, leapfrogging more experienced and higher-profile Catholic leaders to become the world's youngest cardinal, which, very important here, makes him one of 138 cardinals out of 252 in total eligible to vote for the next pope. And this is notably 110 of them, they've been appointed by Francis, which is about 80%. But even with that being the case, you have experts saying it is far from certain that you're going to get another Francis. With us seeing, for example, Austin Ivory, who's written a biography on the now deceased pope, saying, to say he has stacked the College of Cardinals is not quite right. And adding, the idea that these cardinals will necessarily think like Francis is complete nonsense. It's trite.